Hey, welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing. As always, I'm your host, RJ, and I'm joined by my fellow co host, Scott the Macedonian Boar Gunnar and Rob the Red Devil. But more importantly, we are joined by a very special guest in Dani Pirrello, as otherwise known as Dani amongst colleagues. Dani, I'll get you first to tell us how you're going this evening.
Yeah, really good. Thank you so much for having me on, guys. I'm really looking forward to a whole lot of football chat, and we'll just keep the Azuri to the side a little bit, maybe to start. But no, I'm super excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
Brilliant. Robbie, you must be, kind of depressed slash fully depressed like myself. How are you holding up, brother?
Like we say, mate, we love the beautiful game and it's all part of it, the highs and the lows. Like I said, we've got an extra one in here to mourn the Italians tonight. But like I said, I'm looking forward to the Premier League Hall of Fame talk. We always got plenty of stuff to talk about, so it should be good.
Good man.
Of course.
And Scott, you've got an extra spring in your step, mate. What's happening?
No, look, I mean, Scott Borgovsky in the house. I'm here. I'm ready to celebrate. You didn't even notice the subtle name change. And for me, I mean, it's just been a good week. It's been a good week, but it's been a long week. Not doing that Thursday show, I genuinely missed you all. I'm happy to be back. And, of course, to have the lovely Dani in here, who couldn't have picked a better night as a proud Italian to come on this show. Again, as I said to you before the stream, anything I potentially may say or do, I just want you to know it's not directed at you. It's just these two. So, yeah, we'll be good by
Can't
the
have
end.
it both ways, mate. You're a monster or you're not. That's it.
No, look, it should be a cracking show. But RJ, how are you, man? We can't skip you.
Mate, you know what? It's funny because I went into like some manic depressed state the other day. Like I was literally staring in a corner just contemplating that football's broken. Like I was pretty upset, to put it lightly. But then on Saturday night, went to Caringbah. It was flooding. It was torrential. Manchester United Supporters Club undefeated versus Chelsea Supporters Club. And I, for one, didn't see the result that actually ensued. But I was actually very, very pleased to meet people like Tom, Emad, George, some real stand-up blokes, Larry, of course. And despite the not-so-sensational weather, as I like to have said to the boys in the night, no better place to meet someone than on the pitch. So great night all round for a great cause. We raised a fair bit of money for Food Bank. So my weekend was quite good, actually, quite therapeutic to get an assist and play a bit of football.
Beautiful. Look, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into it because we are going to start with the biggest talking point. Just allow me to get myself prepared. Give me just a moment.
Wow.
Can I leave? Can I leave chat or?
We'll come with you. We'll come with you.
He's a fair-weathered fan, Dani. He just
can I tell you, guys? Can I tell you? All I'm really going to do, I'm going to read you some stats. Then I'm going to let you three talk about it. I just want to have the last word. That's all I'm going to do. I just want to have the last word. I'm going to let you do the bulk. Scott Borgovsky is going to read some stats because I'm genuinely stunned. Italy, 32 shots, 5 of those on target. North Macedonia, 4 shots, 2 on target. The Azuri had 66% possession, completed 565 passes with 83% pass accuracy and had 16 corners. Jokes aside, what the hell happened?
Classic FIFA mode, mate. Now, look, it wasn't good enough, and we didn't deserve it, man. I said last week on the stream, you guys said to me, would I be surprised if we didn't get through? And I said, honestly, I wouldn't, because we can't just pin it all on this one game. It's as much as, we can point the finger here and there, it's a combination of a few things. And I said that the international break straight after we won the Euros, excuse my language, but we had our heads up our ass, mate. We were in party mode. And that 1 week cost us a lot. We had 2 draws, a 1-1 draw with Bulgaria, a 0 draw with Switzerland. Obviously, Jorginho, back-to-back games, home and away against Switzerland, missed 2 vital penalties. Especially that last game that last game, 89th minute, he slots that in, we're in the World Cup. We don't have to even go down this route. So, like I said, combination of that, I'm a massive Mancini fan, but, he should be, fingers should be pointed at him too for, I like to say in football, loyalty only gets you so far and can cause you a downfall. And this reminds me back in 2010 when we, again, 2006, we won the World Cup. 2010, 90% of that team shouldn't have been there because of their age and their experience. What happens? We got knocked out in the first round. So this one here, he's rewarded again all the players, or majority of the players that won the Euros. They've got first priority when I think, again, we should have let some of the younger boys play. People like Immobile, number one on my list, mate. He just doesn't do it for the Azzurri. He should be wearing the Lazio jersey when he plays for the national team, because he's been. People don't think, oh, give him a chance, give him a chance. He's been playing there since 2014, and he's got a terrible scoring. When you got people like the front three from Sassuolo, I've said, take a chance and put them in.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Scamacca come on.
Exactly. And one other player, I'm just saying Zaniolo. Why wasn't he even in the selection of the team? He's young. He's come back from his thing. He's been in decent form at Roma. He didn't even get selected. I'll tell you why. Because we have big heads thinking we're going to rest for the Portugal game that we're going to get to. Obviously, now that's not happening. Players like Moise Kean. Again, he's not starting, but plays striker for Juventus. Another young player that we need to be building the future on. No, we continue to go down Insigne. He hasn't been in the greatest form. He's Toronto bound in a few months. We need to be bringing in this new young players and giving them a chance. At the end of the day,
I want to throw to Dani on this because you've raised some really good points. But I think it's important to acknowledge, I'm sure Dani will elaborate on this with much more tact than I have, but this team won the Euros. I mean, you had Chiesa missing, who I think for you was a massive loss. He was such an attacking weapon, but this is a team that just won the Euros. You need to be sticking it to teams like this. You've still got a good record, but to me, I can't get my head around this. Dani, what were your thoughts around it?
Yeah, look, like you said, we're missing a lot of key players. That we had Chiesa out, Spina, which was a massive loss for us as well. Like, honestly, that is not good for us. But in the same regard, you've got, like what Robbie said, Ciro scores goals for fun for Lazio. But when he puts on an Azzurri jersey, he can't do the job. Things like that. I would have loved to have seen, like I said, Scamacca come on. Some of the younger guys come on. Like, we literally had nothing to lose. Like, I believe, like, look, I have so much respect for Mancini, and I think he's done amazing things for the Azzurri. At the end of the day, he can't play for the players, and I understand that. There's a role that obviously the players need to do on the field. But in the same regard, I definitely think some different decisions could have been made that would have led to a different outcome, unfortunately. RJ,
check this comment from Shane. Italy's team selection sounds like Australia's, too scared to move away from the old guard. Yeah, we'll get to the Socceroos soon enough.
There's merit to that, of course, but hindsight's a beautiful thing because you got to understand this was a knockout do-or-die match. If we go with the new guard and get rid of the old guard, we get a wobbly result. Why didn't you go with the tried and tested experienced players who've won you the Euros? These guys have just been there, won that, and you've gone and taken a gamble on a bunch of untried and untested people. So you know, it's a double-edged sword. So I do have some sympathy. The team was good enough to get the job done. Immobile, he's the only one I would have swapped around because he's perennially unreliable. I do feel for him. He does work hard, but Berardi had an absolute shocker. And the chance where he missed with the keeper mistake, there's just too many instances where for the first 80 yards of the pitch, we were untouchable, but then we just couldn't find that final pass to unblock. Let's give credit to North Macedonia. They set up banks of 4 and 5 at the back and were very diligent at keeping their goal protected. For us, I don't think that we took enough risks. Good one, Marty. That's it. Unfortunately, I didn't find it that funny, mate. But look, to be honest with you, it's never a good thing to miss out on a World Cup. Obviously, that's the elephant in the room. But if it's going to cause some reform and shake-ups, recruitment or like strategic-wise, I think it could be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I know some people say, well, that's the second World Cup. But equally, before the bad run, which we've lost one game, we had 37 games unbeaten, broke records, won, in my opinion, the most difficult international tournament with respect. So putting all those together was just a lot of bad timing. The players didn't take their chances. Mancini is a little bit of a pragmatist. I do think the decision to keep him on is the right one because, in my opinion, there's no one really better to step up and replace him. And the brand of football we've been playing has been quite good. So once Chiesa comes back, Spinazzola comes back, we get some of these other young boys integrated in. I think that all of a sudden, this is just going to be one of those very unfortunate situations that we're just going to quickly gloss over. But that's just my view of it.
See, now I'm going to throw to Danny and Rob on that because I'm stunned. I'm gobsmacked that you just said you want Mancini to stay, and you guys both seem to agree, and I'll come to you in a sec. I don't understand how you can want a guy to stay who, with the quality you've still got in that squad, because I don't care who's missing, because Borges said it here, and I agree with him. At the end of the day, it was Macedonia. It was potentially the easiest of games you could have gotten that playoff, and you should have finished the job, but you've come up short. For me, I don't understand how you'd want him to stay because he has, as the coach, and we say this all the time, you can't get rid of all the players. Unfortunately, in modern football culture, it's the coach that always falls first. He hasn't got you to the World Cup. You are too big a footballing nation to not be in Qatar. If it was me and I was an Italian, I would want him gone. I would want him gone. Can call it
Disagree.
fickle, can call it what you will.
Disagree.
But I can see you all disagree. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, though. Robbie, you want him to stay.
100%. And the first thing is, again, you look at the Euros, that's a perfect example of why we want him to stay. It's the first time in generations that someone's had the balls to go out and, move away from our traditional, catenaccio football, defensive 1-0 football, 4-3-3, attacking football, possession-based football. And as we did, we deservedly won that Euros. Yes, obviously we've faltered and we didn't make the thing, but as a lot of people said, man, like compared to other confederations, we lost one game out of all those games. When South American, for example, there's teams going through to the World Cup with 5-6 losses under their belt.
Uruguay and Ecuador, Robbie, 6 losses each, both in. We lost one.
Again, and it's funny enough, it's been the last 2 World Cups that we haven't qualified that they've actually changed the whole qualifying route. It used to be the top 2 teams, direct qualification. Now, with all these stupid things that they've done, most of these teams have two big powerhouses. One's always going to drop out, and then it takes something like a small team like Macedonia, not disrespectfully, a 91st minute goal to knock us out. And historically, we've all seen Italy struggle against the smaller nations. It's always happened, and we always turn up. I would have probably had a better chance of going through tomorrow with up against Portugal, because that's what Italy get up for. Your Frances, your Portugals, your Belgiums, we have a great record. It's always these younger ones. It's a little bit to me like United. We always are up for a big game, but when we play a Brentford or someone or influence, Bulgaria, that's when we had that 1-1 draw. We always seem to struggle, and it's
that classic underdog story. Like everyone always underestimates the underdog.
We've seen it, and like I said, obviously, I watch every Italian game through generations. You go back to our last one, I think we had Azerbaijan that we struggled against. We had a 1-1 draw there. Bulgaria, again, this one. We always seem to struggle against the smaller nations, and we always come up for the big ones. And that's it. That 91st minute goal was great for Macedonia in their history, but it's cruel for us after all that to miss out. But what do you do? It happens.
Danny, Rob spoke for a fair bit at the beginning about how he can't comprehend why Italy haven't rotated, why they haven't started blooding some of these youngsters. So I sat and listened to all that thinking mistakes have been made. But then at the same time, Robbie and RJ are both saying they still want the guy to stay who is in charge of the team. It's his team. Yeah, it's his team, and he's not rotating. So I've heard from the boys. I'd love to hear from you. Why should he stay? Why does he deserve to stay? When he hasn't rotated, he relied on the old guard who have let him down.
Yeah, look, you can't, from this one game, you can't disregard all this great success and achievements that Mancini has brought for the Azzurri, which I think is enough said in itself. Definitely he could have done things differently, but I mean, we say that with every single manager for every single team. When there's a loss, when there's a win, we say nothing. We're all happy. It is honestly, it's a really tough one because I would have loved to have seen things done differently. I don't know if he played it safe. I don't know, because we had as well, look, Bonucci and Chiellini out. Chiellini came in at the end. But now look, Chiellini's announced his retirement. Like, there definitely is going to be a changing in the guard in the future, definitely. And you can already see it start to happen. It's already in the works. And I think this is actually a really great opportunity for us to start, weeding out the old and bringing in the new. And this is a good opportunity for us to, really reform and come back stronger.
Yeah. Well said, guys. Look, some really good points. And banter aside, I know the footballing neutrals would rather see Italy in a World Cup than not in a World Cup. They're a quality team, and let's hope that you guys are right for your sake that reform will happen. I don't see the reform.
I think it's important. So again, for the Mancini point, it's not about just washing away any mistakes that were made, because that's recency bias about this one game, which was make or break. Some of that was tactical. Some of it was players not doing their job. So how can you acknowledge that? But also it's about my point, my more prominent point is you always replace someone with someone that you think is going to do a better job. 100%. So unless there's someone that's obvious to me, which there isn't, why would you go and change someone because of a bit of misfortune? So that's why I'm trying to say it's forward thinking. That's right, Danny. That's right.
And I actually want to throw to you guys, I want to ask you a quick question. I heard this question on the Board Offside podcast yesterday, and I thought it was awesome. Tell me, do you guys reckon, or would you have preferred to lose the Euros but qualify for the World Cup?
No, not me personally. I'd want to win something, not just be there to play in it.
As I've been so salty and I've thrown it back at English fans over the last 3 days, we could not qualify for the next 3 or 4 World Cups and they still won't catch us. So at the end of the day, the Euros is history and it's money in the bank and it's a trophy of an international tournament that we've won. Like I said, we can, you can always miss out on a tournament here and then. If you actually look through the history, there's a lot of big countries that, if you go down and say, that England didn't make it in 1998, Holland didn't make the last World Cup. There's a lot of countries that happens to, especially with the qualifying format.
Not 12 years without a World Cup, Rob.
Listen,
12 years is too long.
2 tournaments. It's 2 tournaments.
I agree with you, Scott. I'm not saying it's definitely too long.
I just can't believe how cool you guys are. I would be livid. I would be so livid.
I've been crying all weekend. I don't know who's cool.
That coach, I would want Mancini gone. I would want him coaching.
Scott, who would you get quickly? So we wrap it up. But people said Ancelotti. Ancelotti's older and from the older generation. We don't want to go backwards. That's what I said. We don't want to go. We want to move forward and adapt like your Germanys, like your Spains, like your Frances. We want to get attacking football. We want to go forward. People have said, I've seen for the younger generation, Cannavaro. He's been coaching in Qatar and China. Okay, fair enough. He's got his coaching badges. He's doing fine. He might need a few other people to come in and help him, maybe for the future. But you can't just go from Qatar and China into the Italian national team. Mancini is the perfect person at the moment. Even though, like I said, it's shocking that we're not there. I personally think that this is worse than when we didn't qualify last time under Ventura and with Sweden. Back then, we didn't have a world-class. We didn't have a world-class manager. We had a very all-over-the-place team. And the governing body were really tight. That's why we didn't have someone. And we had someone like a Ventura. So to have now coming off the back of a Euros, a world-class manager, and yes, a depleted team, but to not get your job done, for me, it feels worse. But it's hard to say. But yeah, I'd still definitely keep Mancini to build this squad up. And this is the time he's got to let the old guard go and implement some of the players that are there now. Let them become the role models and let some of the youth get implemented to move forward.
Well, look, hopefully for you guys, he learns from his mistake. Hey, let's move on because I'm pretty certain Danny's not coming back ever again. I thought we might chat about Italy for 5 minutes and it'd be done, but 20 minutes later. Well, look, hopefully you'll want to come back because I know we've got you for about 20-25 more minutes, and we really did want to get into that Premier League Hall of Fame. So we're going to jump there. And then after the Premier League Hall of Fame, depending on how Danny is going for time, we'll cover the Socceroos as well. We'll definitely cover it, hopefully with Danny, but we'll see how we go. We heard the news that absolute legend, GOAT, great, champion, Patrick Vieira is going to be inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. I think Rooney's going in there too. We heard that too. Yeah. You always want to... You always want to give him a mate in there. So
we're really getting desperate to throw Arsenal players in there now, mate. Really trying to even up that stuff right now.
These boys are going in there. And I think, by and large, biases aside, we can probably agree that both are very, very deserving additions. I'm just trying to zoom on that. We do have a short list of some other gentlemen who are going to be considered and voted for this Premier League Hall of Fame. Before we get into this list, I want to ask, does anyone have any issues with Vieira and Rooney being put in? Dani, how do you feel about those two?
Completely valid.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, no questions needed there. Like, straight away, well deserved. 100%.
Robbie, Arch, any issues with them?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Again, I was fine with it as well.
Not sure about Vieira, to be honest, when you consider some of the other people. Rooney explains itself, but Vieira's a quality player, but I look at that list and I'll tell you what, pretty impressive. Very, very impressive.
Let's looking at these guys, and I'll scroll down and we'll see some of the other players underneath, but just who we can see in the screen at the moment. I just want you to try and pick one who really stands out.
Easy, Andy Cole.
Oof.
Wow, that's not the one I thought I'd hear.
Skulls,
Not the one-
100%.
Yeah, Skulls was my next. I've got my 5 written down, and I've got a big elaboration on all of them.
Okay, what about you, RJ? Where are you leaning?
Very strange to see some Manchester United fans pull out some Manchester United
Yeah.
players. That's
I'm
strange.
waiting to see what. Let's see what RJ says here. Here we go.
No, honestly, I honestly thought Paul Scholes would be up there, even from a goalkeeper point of view. You got 3 qualities
Peter
in there.
Schmeichel, yeah.
Don't say
Schmeichel,
check.
check this out. He's amazing. But honestly, I think, Paul Scholes would be up there. But there's a couple in there. Even I like bolters, outside bolters. So I love what Matt Letizia did for the Premier League. He scored some iconic goals. And I think players sometimes that don't play in the top tier clubs at that point in time sometimes get a little bit overlooked. But I think what he done for the game, he's certainly very memorable for me. So I hope he gets inducted.
I am going to go with Matt Letizia as well. He was someone who really stood out for me. And I think when I look at this in this Premier League Hall of Fame, because it's important to know your criteria, because they haven't specified their criteria, and I remember us having this talk last year, it is subjective. So I think it's important to put that on the table. I look at someone like Matt Letizia, and he didn't play for one of the powerhouses. Yeah, so look, Scholes, great player, but had so much quality around him, and probably the greatest football manager of all time, which helped him to blossom. Obviously, you're going to get more assists when you're passing to world-class strikers. Andy
How did
Cole.
Vieira get in there then? How are you so fine with Vieira getting in there when he was very much in that same position those 2 years when he won the league? He had a great
He's an
team.
invincible, mate.
The Invincibles. So
He's an invincible.
you can't use that argument against him because, look, I put my criteria down too. My criteria is, number 1, longevity, appearances, how
For Man United or for anyone?
No, I'm talking over. It doesn't matter how many clubs you played for. How important you were to that team, because there is players out there that probably won trebles and stuff that sat on the bench and didn't do nothing. So how important and how key you were to that team. Obviously, in the attacking places, you want to see goals, and trophies are going to come along with it. So like I said, I'll give you my quick 5. I'm not going to elaborate on all of them, but my 5 I picked out of all of them. I've got Andy Cole, I've got Paul Scholes, I've got Sergio Aguero, I've got John Terry, and from left field, I put Ashley Cole in there as well. And if there's any of them that you're unsure of, I'm happy to tell my reasons. But I think I've done my research on them today, and I reckon they all have a really good case to be next in line.
I like your 5, but again, it's weird that you I think your criteria really discredits players that haven't gone to one of the big boys, because someone like Matt Letizia had longevity. He had excellent stats when you consider where he played. And for me, I think the Hall of Fame is also about being an icon. And this is just part of my little criteria. It's about being iconic. To me, he's made himself iconic, but he's made himself iconic at one of the little guys. And I love that romantic side of a player who has that loyalty and stays with that club, even when I'm sure he had offers to go elsewhere. So for me, Matt Letizia is definitely In my 5, I would say, and again, putting my bias to the side, Ashley Cole needs to be in there. He's probably the best left back of the Premier League era, and he did it for 2 big clubs. He did it at Arsenal and at Chelsea. Looking on there again, bias aside, I'm saying John Terry needs to be in there. He was modern Premier League, probably the most commanding, iconic centre-back of the last, well, let's say 15 years. I think he's certainly one. Robin van Persie is no chance for me. He's spent most of his Premier League career injured. Don't know how he's there. And when I look at the rest, I think Sulky. Sorry?
I reckon Drogba's got to be in there as well, to be honest.
Why Drogba?
Well, yeah, why Drogba?
What he's done. Have a look at what he's done for Chelsea. Amazing. He's got to be in there.
I just think, look, I think one day he will be there. I just think when you look around him and those players, I think it's hard to squeeze him in this next pile anyway.
How many get in from this list?
Well,
now?
they say you have to, out of that, I think you have to vote on 5. So I'd say it's 2 at a time that go in, but you vote on 5, and then I think it's like your top 2, next 2 go in. That's what they've been doing in 2s of increments of 2.
Hey, RJ, what do you think of this? Alex asking where Zola is.
Yep, I agree with that.
Great question, isn't he? Like, I think maybe it's the longevity argument here where he fails because he didn't play that long, you know what I mean? Like, compared to some of these other players. But to me, he's someone that fits your romanticism there, Scott, and the icon status. Ask Jamie Carragher. He's still got a concussion from him. But look, it's just, I actually feel for the people coming up with this list because, like I think Shane said before, such a weird list. There are some players on here like your Zolas that you think, oh, geez, they had a claim to make it. It would be nice if they said, we picked this list based on X, Y, Z. But it's up to the imagination, and that's what makes it actually more fun to debate.
Just quickly, guys, I got a question. Sorry, I got a question for you, Danny. Yeah. You're shouting out for Drogba. So when I put these 2 head to head, this is what I'm trying to say. Sergio Aguero, Didier Drogba, both similar, and then both clubs got bought by rich owners, pumped money into it, so they could, both got successful, but the money was a big issue. When you look at the stats, obviously, five Premier Leagues to, I think, Drogba, maybe 2 Arj or 3 Drogba? Yep, so 5 to 3 in Premier Leagues. Sergio Aguero is the 4th highest Premier League goal scorer ever and is the highest non-English goal scorer ever. He's got the stats, one of the most lethal strikers in the Premier League in history. That's why when I look at it head-to-head like that, at this stage, I wouldn't put a Drogba over Aguero yet.
Yeah, that's fair. I completely understand that point. I think it comes back to that whole iconic point. Look, they both are, but that Aguero goal, that iconic Aguero goal as well, that ruined us. Like, no, it's an excellent point. Honestly, you've got to look at it that way because what I'm trying to understand as well is what is the actual. It's similar to Ballon d'Or, right? Ballon d'Or's got a particular criteria.
Yeah, you have to be Messi. And you get it.
Oh, this is the guy that says loyalty is what I love. From a guy that's never stayed more than 25 minutes in a place. No, stir him up. Yeah.
But look, it's super subjective. Like, not only amongst us, but amongst, journalists, fans, managers. It's so subjective. So it is really hard to pick. Like, for example, for me, Scholes is the best midfielder of his generation.
Well, he's definitely. I reckon if we could bet anything, I think Scholes will be one of the 2 that will be inducted 100%. Next.
If he's not, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, and that's not being bonus. It's just thing. Scotty scared again. You can't go for the big teams that think. But since the Premier League started, United dominated the past most of the the last decade and a half. So it's going to be as we've already seen already. Majority of those inductees are Manchester United players, and until it goes down the line, I still think we are going to see at least 1 out of 2 every time of a United player because there was that many great players. And,
And I think the greatest ever midfielder was already inducted, Robbie.
But that's exactly a perfect reason. Frank Lampard's in. So, like I said, and Scholes wasn't there. He's definitely next in line, mate. So, I reckon 100% nearly Scholes will be one of the 2 inducted next.
It's interesting, though, as well, when you look at this list, there are plenty of names we actually haven't said. Listen to some of these names that we've not even given a breath to. We've not mentioned Rio Ferdinand, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, Yaya Toure.
Ian Rush. I was looking at Ian Rush today too, just having a look at him to say for what he done for Crystal Palace, and then obviously what he done at Arsenal. You're talking about, not being he was at a smaller club in Palace and then delivered massively in goal scoring for Arsenal. I think again, great player, iconic, but when you got to go down the list and put these players in order, it's very hard.
But even there, look at Tony Adams. Now, obviously, I'm putting my Arsenal hat on here. He was, again, in that John Terry, just an iconic defender. He revolutionised under Arsene Wenger's tutelage that Arsenal defence, and he was a big part of Arsenal when they became a force, and we had our kind of legacy period in the Premier League. So many good players on that list. But I think, as we said last year, you've got to have a criteria. There has to be some kind of criteria, because leaving it to fans to vote, because I think it does come down to a fan vote. You leave this to fans to vote, Matt Letizia is not getting in.
No, exactly right as well.
Especially with the young generation of your football fans that maybe didn't see these guys play. They're obviously just going to pick the ones that play for their club. So I think a criteria is...
Yeah, that they grew up watching.
Yeah, exactly.
So, look, always good to look at a list like that. And, I mean, we could talk about it all evening. But if you in the live chat have someone in there that you want to stake a bit of a claim for, I know Tom put a really good comment earlier. I just want to bring up two of Tom's. But let us know in the live chat if you've got a player and you think they should be there. Where's Dennis Irwin? Criminal that he's not there. He has to go in above any left back. Man United's best left back, 7 league titles, 33 goals, 7 league titles. Yeah, look, a great player, but I would still be putting in Ashley Cole if I had to pick one of the two.
See, again, it just comes down to that whole subjective point. Is that it's who you feel a connection to as well. Like when you grow up watching a certain player and they make you fall in love with the game, like you always have like a little more of a bias towards them. Or like you said, similarly, if they want to treble for your team, for example, like with us, like with Man United fans, you're obviously going to lean towards them. It is really hard.
Just a couple of comments from the live chat will flash up. I think the only criteria is they have to be retired. Otherwise, it's popularity. Hard to argue with. I feel like the players that they pick to go in, people haven't really got a problem with. I mean, who have we had? We had Thierry Henry, Frank Lampard. We've got Vieira. We've got Rooney.
David Beckham.
Roy Keane.
Roy Keane, Beckham.
I don't think people generally have any contention with those, because you do have those that clearly stand out. I think the issue then comes to this voting part. I would rather they just ditch the voting, leave it up to whatever their panel is and go from there. But another good one here from Pranav. There's a massive misconception about Drogba's output in the Premier League. All I remember from Drogba is that he always scored against us. So I've won.
A big game player. That's what he was known
a big
for.
game player.
Yep.
Good comment from Shane. Tony Adams, one of the last real tough defenders in the Premier League. Definitely
Honestly,
agree.
same as Ferdinand in that respect. And, I listen to a lot of, like, Ferdy's podcasts and when he goes on different shows. And what he says is so true about the current climate with United. It's like players don't fight like they used to. Like, they don't leave everything on the pitch. It's not the same in any regard, which is a real shame because there's so much history embedded in that club. And it really shouldn't be a mediocre mid to top. Like, they shouldn't be sitting in the middle of the table. Man United are a top 2, top 4 club, period. They shouldn't be sitting in the middle of the table ever. So it is a real shame to see how that our club's gone backwards in that sense. And I think Ferdy was...
I'm devastated, Danny, as you can tell, for United. But he makes a good point. He would, but comparing him, Vidic, they would have played. I love the battles, even like your Sol Campbells for Arsenal, your Terrys, your Carvalhos, your Alexes. Those defenders aren't there anymore. The closest thing we've got are people like Rudiger. Ben White is an up-and-comer. Virgil van Dijk's quality.
Van Dijk's
full respect. He's one of the quality players, but I'd love to see Virgil van Dijk come up against some of the attacking midfielders and strikers back then.
I seen someone said that today. He's lucky that he didn't grow up in that generation.
And it goes both ways. It goes both ways too, because would they have been as effective against him? It's all hypothetical, of course.
Yeah.
There was a bit of discussion in the live chat about rush and who was in there. I'll just quickly to wrap this up. I'll tell you who has already been inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. You've got Bergkamp, Beckham, Frank, Stevie G, Roy Keane, Eric Cantona, Thierry Henry, Alan Shearer, and now Patrick Vieira and Wayne Rooney.
And what's the common denominator there, boys? Every single one of them has won the league. Yes.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a big box to tick. It has to be, mate, when you go down for something like that.
Yeah, look, fair shout. Danny, I know we've got you for about 10 more minutes. If you do need to go, just let us know. But let's talk a little bit of Socceroos. We saw that result, obviously a really disappointing result against Japan. I felt like we weren't really ever in it. They, to me, were the better team from the first whistle to the last. We had some patches where we looked okay. But the golfing quality between Japan and Australia for me is huge, absolutely huge. There's been a lot of debate about the future of Graham Arnold and whether he's the right man to keep going or whether we need to sack him. And there's also been talk, and I've contributed to some of this talk about whether things need a complete rework. Is just getting rid of Graham Arnold enough? Now, I'm really conscious of your time, Danny, so I'd love to invite you to give your thoughts just generally on the Socceroos and the World Cup qualification process.
Yeah, just off the back of what you were saying, look, I definitely agree Graham Arnold is not doing the best job at the moment, and I think that's evidently clear. I don't think sacking him right now is the best move. I think we need to wait out this qualifying campaign, see how we go, and then have a look, because I don't think it will help us right now to do that. But look, Socceroos, honestly, sometimes them and the Azzurri look a bit similar in the sense that, they don't capitalise on their chances. And essentially that's what football comes down to. We saw it with North Macedonia. It took that 1 minute to score that last goal, and that's all you need. And look, I feel like it's a bit of a shambles at the moment, and, I don't know, it was a bit of a negative environment. We had players out, different players with COVID ridden. Everything was a bit of a shambles, to be completely honest. And I don't know how well prepared we were going into that, which is a massive factor.
Robbie, give us some of your thoughts.
Yeah, look, not much for me, mate. I'm not as passionate, obviously. Look, I obviously love the soccer, not as much as the Azzurri, but for me, I agree with what Danny said. I think he does have to go, but I think it's pretty stupid going in this kind of, they've got obviously the game tomorrow morning, which is really a no game at all. If they win, it's not going to do anything. Obviously, I do personally think that next round against, I think it could be UAE or possibly Iran. I think in that one-off game they can get through, but then obviously the big one will be against CONMEBOL or the South American team. So if he's going to go down, I think the captain goes down with a ship. I personally don't think he was the right man from the starters. And, all you have to do is listen to, every time people interview Ange Postecoglou, he was probably the pinnacle of what Australia's had. And obviously winning the Asian Cup, what he's done, getting them to like 2 World Cups. Obviously, we didn't get nothing out of that. And everyone you have to look at that squad as well. This was no 2006, special squad. This is just a, very average Australian team. And, it hurts to say it, but there is not many players in there that play top-level football compared to, again, that 2006 generation when 90% of the team were playing top flight in the Premier League or in Europe at least. So, for me,
that's such a good point. I know. I was just going to say that's such a good point. We need more of our players going and playing in Europe, getting that experience, bringing that flavour and playing it here. It's just the same shit.
It is, and it's just Japan dominated that game for me. And we all said, it would have been great to win, but I think we're all pretty confident that it was going to be a very hard result. And a big talking point during the week was bringing in someone like a Bruno Fornaroli, which I've got nothing against, but a Uruguayan neutralized Australian player at how old? 34 years old. We've got no future. We've got no one getting bled in good enough to come into this team. And look, I know he's copped a lot of heat for it in the past week. I know Scott that was it Volpato? His name is again the one that's at Roma there.
Yeah, Christian Volpato.
Yeah. Look,
couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke, man.
He's made himself not look great, but the big question mark for me is why was he not good enough to get into the A-League? He's gone and playing one of the top 4 best competitions in the world and starting under Jose Mourinho, but he doesn't get picked for the Australian team and doesn't make the A-League. So that's why I always come back to it. There's too much politics. There's too much I know you or he's, money under the table for Australian football. They don't get picked on talent. You have to know someone to get in there. And look, he's now going to represent Italy. Even if he doesn't make the top 10, he's got selected for the under-21s because they want to wrap him up because they obviously think he's got enough talent to play for a club like Italy. So why is that not the same for Australia? That's the big question mark for me.
RJ?
Yeah, no, look, on the whole Volpato thing, I think is a pretty silly thing he done. He should just let his football do the talking. He made himself look very silly. And I understand why he did it, but at the same time, it just shows a lot of immaturity and hopefully he grows from that. But Australia's problems are deep-seated. The problem is they haven't got all the time in the world over the next few years to resolve them because they've got the transactional issue of trying to qualify for the World Cup. It's going to be a hugely difficult task because hopefully they don't make the same mistake Italy did and just assume that they're just going to walk through to the game against their South American rivals. Because even once you get through that, it's going to be a super difficult task. But getting rid of Arnold now, I've heard everybody's familiar with the manager bounce. Everybody knows that. But at the moment, who's going to want to walk into that poison chalice? Because a lot of their issues stem from the quality isn't there relative to what it was years ago. B, even some of the quality that they do have is either injured or unavailable. And then C, you've got a system of play that they just don't even look very confident between themselves. Against Japan, they had a couple of dead ball situations, but for the most part, had Minamino had his scoring boots on and had the post been in the right side of the ledger, they could have been 3-4 up. And the game is long gone before that 90th minute heartbreak. So it's a sad situation for Australian football. There's some parallels to Italian football, but obviously Australia's situation is a lot more perilous. I just hope they do enough to somehow miraculously qualify for the World Cup and then take care of business here. But it's a multi-year problem that they need to resolve. And they really need to get the root cause figured out rather than just trying to put a Band-Aid solution, because you can't just get a coach, get Bielsa in, and you're going to fix all the problems. It just doesn't work like that. You need to go right to the bottom, governance, grassroots, bridge the gap. That's how it's going to work.
Before I share my views on that, Danny, this is the place to be, and we're so glad you joined us because look, you've already got more opportunities coming your way. Tom putting in the chat, as a United fan, if you want to replace Larry on the pubcast, you're more than welcome. I would vouch for you to be on there. It's an excellent place to be. Only problem is too many United fans.
Hey, can never be too many United fans.
That's
right.
it.
Look, I want to give my views because, as you guys know, I work in education and I've worked across southwestern Sydney and in a few different places and schools. I think the problem with where our football's at currently starts from the ground. Starts from the ground up. It's what we're doing with kids. Now, what I mean by that is that we've got so many talented kids who, are being priced out of football. You only have to look at things like your registration fees that are pricing out so many families. My nephew's playing now, and I know it's extremely expensive. That's one issue. We need a revamp of our coaching structures. We need a revamp of that, and we need to look philosophically at what kind of football we want to be playing in 10 to 15 years. Do we want to be playing long ball football? Do we want to be playing quick, fast-paced football with flair where you're under pressure very quickly? Because if that's the kind of football we want to play, playing out from the back, fast-paced, players that can think under pressure, maybe kids need to be playing on smaller pitches for longer. We do put kids, RJ, you're in the coaching game at the moment. Kids are on a full-size pitch from what, about 9, 10?
Yeah, I think it's a double digits age, so it takes a bit
I
long
think
to
12.
get them integrated.
I think it's 12.
It's 12
They
now.
start on a full pitch.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
they
moderate
change
size.
on.
There's 3 size pitches. There's the
Oh.
smaller ones from up to like 8 or 9. Then they go mid-range, then full pitch, I think,
Yeah.
like Danny
I was
said.
10 years old my first year on full pitch. 10 years old was my first year on full pitch.
I think they need to rework the pricing. They need to have a long-term philosophy, and they need some footballing brains in there who can oversee that, because we've got massive numbers of kids who are playing football. It is the most played sport in this country by kids. Why we're not converting that into international dominance, or players that at the very least are desired by clubs in the top leagues, is beyond me. Because I know that there are kids who are so passionate about football. I know there are families who are passionate about football. But somewhere between getting kids onto a pitch full of excitement and kids getting into the older ages and then dropping out and not wanting to pursue it, something's going horribly wrong. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that.
To echo what you said, to echo what you're saying, like football in Australia, it's a system failure. Like, it's an elitist sport in Australia. Whereas when you go to Argentina, South America, Europe, kids are rolling up socks and they play in the street. They've got the X factor. They have to fight. They have to be really hungry for it. Here, you've got to pay $3,000 to sign your child up to play. And even me, coming through the Football New South Wales system, I played in the NPL here for years. I got an opportunity to go to America and play there, and I took it like that because the pathways here, especially for women, weren't great. And at that point in time, all the Matildas, all the girls were going to play in America. Now they're obviously all playing in the Premier League in Europe. Robbie Simpson just signed in Sweden, which is massive. Like, it just shows that there really is a breakdown in our governing body, our whole system. And like you said, Scott, exactly right. It stems from that. And that's why on an international level, we don't perform. It sucks to say, but there's truth there.
Yep. That is from the ground up. You are absolutely spot on. And as someone who's played, you would know. I think a lot of the problem as well is that you've got now so many academies and so many groups that have their own philosophies who want to go and do these big, expensive overseas trips because they've got connections, which then excludes, again, a lot of talented kids. It's pricing kids out. There's always
you
been
lose
a lot
those
of
kids that
you lose the kids that can't go on the trip. Look, Dani, let's give you closing word on this. Let's give you the final word. And then I know you've got to go. So let's give you the final word on football in Australia, where to next, and then we'll farewell you after that.
Look, I really think we've already hit the nail on the head. I think from the ground up, grassroots up, we need to look differently at how we're doing things, the pathways, the opportunities we have with players, the politics, the exuberant fees. There's honestly a lot of things. It's not just one. It's a lot of small things that really make a massive difference in this country's game, which I think really speaks for itself. And I think we just need a lot more opportunity here. And also, one more quick point. We don't look at our A-League. Look at Australia's professional league. We don't have relegation and promotion. We've got one league.
Yeah.
Like, even in my opinion, I don't even know if I should say this, but in my opinion, I consider NPL better quality of football to watch.
I 100% agree.
It's actually exciting. Players fight for promotion and to fight out of relegation. There's not that in the A-League. So it's almost like, you play, for example, Sydney FC for the women became premiers a few weeks ago. They play the grand final. Yes, it's great, but like, they've already won. Like, it's just, I think there's a lot of flaws and there's a lot of cracks in the system. And I think a lot of things need to be fixed. So hopefully we can do that so Australia can progress in a football sense. Like you said,
Dani's got my vote for Football Australia president. Dani, you've got my vote. Sign her up now. Lock it in.
Dani, we know you need to go. We're super grateful to you for coming on. You can find Dani's Insta in the description. We know she'll certainly be doing some more big things. Can't wait to see what the future holds. But we're hoping that it holds another visit to join us in the future, because it's been a great chat.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your time and you having me on.
All good.
Thank you. Sorry, I've got a lag, but thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate everything, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys again. So thank you so much.
100%.
Take it easy, Dani. See you later.
Dani, take care.
Thanks, guys.
Take it easy.
All right, Dani Pirrello, and didn't she have some great insights there? She's, as someone who's played, you could just feel when we started talking about that topic, she had the experiences to back up her views. I want to look at some of the live chat comments, and then we'll do some of our quick fires as well. Just a few from Shane here. Half the kids in the Aussie Academy teams maybe aren't even that good. And when you've got quotas, you'll take whoever pays if there's not competition. Marty saying, don't start me on the A-League. All right, Marty, we won't start you on that. We know you're a big Mariners man. I love this point from Emad. People can barely afford to buy a house, let alone take out second mortgages to put their kids through grassroots football. Again, I do think it's too expensive.
Hey, you do get a jersey, speaking from experience here, man. You're being a little bit critical, but I think your point's valid. It's super expensive.
Even so many of these clubs, even these kids clubs, are like Adidas jerseys or Nike jerseys now. Like, man, when I played, I didn't even know what brand the jersey was. It was probably made in someone's nan's backyard. Like, why do we need to be bumping up fees with stupid things like branded jerseys that don't influence how the kids play? Like, I think there are so many intelligent ways that we can reduce the cost. So many intelligent ways, but you slap an Adidas badge on your jersey and automatically the fees go up and people think, oh, wow, we've got the Adidas jerseys, let's go there. But we've got a long way to go. And I actually agreed with Danny that sacking Graham Arnold right now, no. I don't think we're going to qualify. I don't want to be negative, but I just don't see us getting through what the future holds. And I think the time to get rid of him is once we don't qualify. Not now. There's not enough time for someone to come in and make a mark. Arj, you agree?
Yeah, I said that before. Definitely agree.
Easy. Robbie, any final thoughts on that before we do some quick fires?
Quick fire away, my friend.
All right. We are going to do some quick fires. Been a cracker of a show so far. If you haven't already, if you've forgotten, just make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. We're on the road to 600 now, boys. I might go last. But do you want to kick us off, RJ?
Sure, no worries. You're at the supermarket. What's that one item that you've always got in the back of your mind? You know what? I'm going to go check this one, see if it's on sale. I want to see. What is that one item that you think at the supermarket I better check out, just in case it's a good deal?
Frozen pizzas, mate. Love me a good frozen
Any
pizza.
flavour? Meat lovers for you?
You know me. Barbecue meat lovers.
Halloumi, mate. Halloumi for me. It's like cheese gold, that stuff. So when it's on, if it's on special, I'll get it because like a little block like that is like $12 sometimes. So yeah, halloumi, I love it as well.
Jeez, I didn't know you were loaded, Rob. You're $12. You can buy $12 cheese, Scott. Jeez, I
Yeah,
can
not me, mate.
with that, mate. I'll tell you,
Not
this is how value conscious I am. I'm the guy that goes down the aisle with all the paper towels, and I'm comparing the price per 100 sheets. And I said, if it's anything more than $1.67 per 100 sheets, you're getting ripped off. Simple as that. When you've got little kids, or when you've got animals, or when you've got a whole bunch of people in your house, the most precious commodity is paper towels. Okay?
I reckon I think baby wipes goes close second for me. I reckon baby wipes are used for everything, mate.
Yeah,
good point.
Good chat. You got another one, Arj, or just the one?
No, just that one, mate.
Robbie?
Yeah, I've got 3 boys. I'll go quick fire. I think we've done this one before, but your favorite coffee order?
If I'm tired, macchiato. If I'm not tired, vanilla mocha.
Arj?
Every day, mate. It's weak skim latte, or when I'm feeling pretty buzzing, I'll go for a nice standard espresso. But I get it from home anyway.
Yeah,
Eman's still burning from that slide tackle where he got sent off about 14 times the other night before.
Mate, I'm going to call him out on stream. I heard about that, Emad. I heard you went in a little bit unnecessarily aggressive, and I just want to say I commend you, mate. Next time, do it harder. Get him harder next time.
Poor Tom. I feel sorry for Tom because I can see Tom's like, oh, yeah, it wasn't that bad. But I'm thinking, yeah, definitely it was red card worthy, no doubt. But at least he had a good go. I will take my hat off. Emad played with a lot of heart. Got to give him credit.
Robbie?
Boys. Do you prefer a night in or a night out?
In.
Depends where, but I'm going to say out.
Yeah, I'm going to say in. Especially if we've got good company. I prefer night in, bit of football, bit of chillaxing. And last one, name one thing on your bucket list.
I've already done it, but getting back to the Emirates, I want to watch a North London derby.
Haj?
Yeah, for me, just going over there and spending time at Stamford Bridge and some of the other classic grounds around there.
Yeah, look, for me, Italy's making it a lot hard, but I always said my biggest bucket list is to watch Italy at a major tournament. It doesn't matter if it's a World Cup or a Euros. So, yeah, obviously, World Cup's not there, so 2024 Germany is the next target.
Easy. All right, boys, you want to play a tiny bit of yeah, nah?
Yeah, I love this game.
Yeah.
Nah.
I was stuck in a bit of traffic and I wasn't using my phone, but when I was sitting in the traffic, I was thinking about plenty. I'm not going to use them all tonight, though. Let's go. Yeah, nah. Blokes waxing.
Nah.
Nah, not for me.
Yeah, nah.
Nah, not for me too. We leave that to the likes of EMAD. Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Nah, that's a nah for me.
Nah, unnecessary. I'm still confused by the whole thing.
I think the bigger issue is I think he honestly needs help, man. Mental issue problems, to be honest. I think it was wrong. I think I took him the wrong way, what he said, but definitely it's a nah for me.
All right. Look, it's a massive nah from me as well. I believe that comedy needs to be protected. Look, wasn't the best thing he said, but he didn't know the full circumstances.
Exactly. I agree.
And without being vulgar and being as respectful as possible, there are other things that Will Smith should probably be worrying about and other people he might need to pursue instead of Chris Rock. When you think about
you know what, but just on that, with Chris Rock, I don't quite get the story of ignorance too. Like, what other circumstance would someone for a female have a shaved head? Like, to me, that shows like tone deaf to me. Like, I think he would have been fully aware that it would have been medical related other than just fashion choice, because that sounds very, very, very unusual. So I kind of think he knew where he was going, even if he wants to plead a bit of ignorance. But equally, Will Smith should have had a bit more class and handled it differently. And he would have looked like a real hero. But he blew it.
All right, I've got a couple more. Servo coffee.
Yeah, I'm going to go on this one. I've had a couple good ones, to be honest.
$1 7-Eleven, or the one at BP Gregory Hills there. It's not too bad if you ever go.
So you're a yeah?
Me and Jules used to get to a certain one on the way to work quite often, and it was a really good coffee, man. So I'll go yeah on that.
All right, okay. RJ, you're a yeah?
Yeah, mate.
I'm a yeah too. There you go. We are Westies. This one's for you, Robbie. I'm going to put on the table. I'm a massive nah. This winds me up. Taking photos of your food at a restaurant.
Yeah, mate. You know me. I take a photo of nearly every dish I cook. I love my food.
Leave Peter Parker alone, Scott.
Mate, you know it, Scott. We've got our group chat, and I think I post more food pictures than anyone.
We do have a group chat, and it's genuinely
For
just Robbie's food adventures. Everything he consumes during the day, we know. But look, I'm a nah. Robbie's a yeah. Break the ice, RJ.
I'm a yeah, but it's got to be selective, Scott. You can't just
exactly. And it is selective. We don't post every single one. If it's something a bit special, out of the ordinary, or looks good, 100%. Nah. But just quickly, Scott, I want you to admit from the weekend,
that was phenomenal.
You asked me to send you 3 pictures from the weekend from the wedding.
That was phenomenal. That was fine dining. Believe it or not, I'm not a fine diner. I know you probably look at me, guys, and think I ooze fine dining, but I'm not. But we had a mate's wedding, and it was absolutely sensational. I'm going to chuck 2 more at you, boys, and then that's it for yeah, nah. Dating your mate's sister.
That's enough for me.
RJ?
I think it's a yeah if it works out. It depends on your intentions.
It's a hard one. It's hard. I don't know. Yeah,
for me, I'd say yeah.
I'm saying yeah, just to wind my mate up. So whoever it is, it's a massive yeah, massive undeniable yeah. Last one, and I've got someone in mind for this. I'm not going to say who it is. Going to the barber, not for a haircut, but for your facial hair to be maintained.
That's enough for me, definitely.
Well, that wouldn't be relevant to me, but hypothetically, if it were, I'd say yes, again, for these special occasions where I can't do DIY, which I do most of the time.
I'm a massive nah. Yeah, no one touches my beard, mate. No one touches my beard. You, as a man, you should be shaving your own facial hair, not laying there getting hot towels on your face and someone.
You don't
else
have a proper beard, to be honest, bro. If you're trying to get a proper job done, you
Mate,
can't trust your
I had a
skill
proper
set.
beard 2 weeks ago, and I'll have another proper beard in 2 more weeks, just
Not
because
the
I'm
same,
clean
bro.
now. All right, boys, that was That they were my ones I thought of. Point out a couple of comments. Emad, do you look through your gallery and find a pic of pasta you took 3 years ago and
No,
say,
mate.
he probably
It's all-
would.
The boys know, mate. It's as just before I stick it in my mouth, straight off the plate, nice and hot.
Wow.
I like this one from you'll save on toilet paper if you wax. Look, RJ's counting those sheets, so he
It's a
might.
good shout, actually. I like that.
I actually don't mind that either. Emad, I think this is on Dating a Mate's Sister. Been there? Yeah, nah. Fair call. You have to tell us about that over a beer. Boys, cracking show, an hour again, because we had a lot to cover. We will be back on Thursday night. Oh, we had some fixtures to look at. Do we want to look at that? Or do we want to leave them?
You know what? Just quickly, boys. Portugal, Macedonia. What do you
Portugal. Hopefully Macedonia, but Portugal.
Yeah, I think too much quality as well. Portugal, Arj.
You know what? Just to give Macedonia a fighting hope, get in there, boys. Rip into them.
Robovski tonight as well. Go, Maso. And the last one I think was Poland, Sweden, I believe. I think that's because that was one of the postponed games, and I think the winner of them will play Wales. I believe.
I think
just quickly, boys. Did anyone see Gareth Bale's goals?
Phenomenal.
Wow. Seriously, man. Honestly, great goals, man. For someone who plays once a year, he's still got it in the top level, man.
I bet the Madrid newspapers love that one.
Yeah, hard.
Poland for me, boys.
Ooh,
Sweden for me.
Yeah, I think Sweden will do this as well.
Boys, we've covered Italy. We've covered the Socceroos in Australian football. We looked at the Premier League Hall of Fame. And if you are watching this on repeat, you're watching this not live, in the comments, chuck in which player you think should be in the Premier League Hall of Fame and why. Even if you didn't get a chance to do it tonight. Please put a like on the video before you head out this evening. And we will see you back on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. RJ, any closing thoughts?
Just a thumbs up for me. Great chat, therapeutic, buzzing. Happy to be back.
Robbie?
Echo you, boys. I'll see you Thursday night. Looking forward to it as always.
And we'll see you then. Take care. Look after yourselves. Look after each other. See you later.